help you to experience what it's like when it's the humble facilitation, what it's like to be a facilitator of the meeting, not necessarily its owner, and what is it to face the challenges that we're all facing in difficult times, but also, you know, when running meetings, when emotions are high. There's one important thing. As a part of our sessions, we usually want to provide a right to pass. But in this session, it will be quite difficult. The thing is, this session is highly interactive, and we will require you to do some work. We would love to give you the right to pass, but since there's a lot of work in pairs, it may not be practical. So you may be required to speak. We won't mind if you disconnect based on it, but we really hope you stay and get the fullest of the session.
So first thing we're going to do, because we don't think everyone's arrived in the meeting until they've actually had a chance to speak. So we're going to get you to go into pairs in a moment, and just reflect on why you came to the meetup in the first place, and maybe think about what your intention might be, because you might be able to manifest it in this session. If you have an intention for the meetup, why you came in, share it with whoever you're with, and let's see what happens. So without further ado, I think the breakout rooms are going to start in a minute.
Yes.
About 90 seconds, and then you'll be pulled back into the room. Anything you want to add, TK?
Just the thing that, you know, you will have the 90 seconds, and I'll move you to the rooms right now. So good luck.
Welcome back, everyone. So that was a quick 90 seconds. I wasn't quite sure if I was going to be put in there, but I'm back in time to carry on presenting. So the question we asked you, would anyone mind sharing anything that their why in the chat window right now, so everyone can get a feel of why, what everyone else's intention might be? And I'll just wait and see. Yes, there we go. Got windows all over the place. So yeah, so what were your whys? If you could share them in the chat window. Just to keep learning, that's a good one. Yeah, we're still waiting for people to come back, aren't we? Interesting, a humble approach. Yeah, well, you'll see a lot of that tonight and learn something new. CSM certification, brilliant. Yeah, there's lots of need to facilitate. Getting tips on working from home, yes, there's certainly a lot of different ways to facilitate now you're not in a room together. One room, my room had one person and they were muted, brilliant. Latest technology and tools, continuous professional development, brilliant. Yeah, so brilliant. We've got lots of different reasons coming in, which is great, because we hope that you will get to reflect some of them into this session. I was the only one in the room. Sorry about that. Yeah, so there's a ton of ideas going to come your way in some shape or form. So yeah, with that, we'll move on to the next part then, as everyone's arrived back. So TK.
Yeah.
Why did you decide to offer this meetup?
Well, first of all, it wasn't just me, it was all of us. And I think what we wanted to do is we wanted to provide an experience of ease, provide an experience of facilitation, and actually share our frustrations and the way we deal with them with our wonderful audience. Quite a big one, actually. Why did we? Noel, what was your idea?
Oh, okay, thanks. Wasn't expecting that.
Boom.
Yeah, so I think what's important for us is looking at some of the characteristics of a facilitator. So there's a lot of information at the moment. There's a lot of courses, some fantastic courses. Actually, I've been on quite a few myself around tools and tips and techniques for facilitating effective online meetings. And that is all great stuff. But actually, what we wanted to offer is something a little bit different. And we want to tap into you as a facilitator and how you can maybe focus a little bit on how you show up and some of the things that you demonstrate when you facilitate.
It's quite true. Matt, anything to add?
Yeah, I do. Yeah. So back in November, someone asked me if I could run a meetup in person, actually, in the good old days, or the bad old days, depending on how you look at them. And I created a whole facilitation workshop, which we were due to run in person. And we had some great fun. There was about 60 people in person there too, so it's like for like. But this is actually different to the in-person one. So it means we can, when things get back to normal, we may be able to do that one too. So I'm just really excited and looking forward to running a meetup on this scale online and doing lots of cool stuff together. So that's my reason.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. And the thing is, we want to get you guys to work again, because I've mentioned something, that is dear to me, which is frustrations. Well, hopefully, they're not as dear to me as that. But essentially, what we wanted to do is we wanted to break you guys into pairs again. Maybe triads, depending on the rounding on Zoom. People are coming in and out, so it may be challenging. And think about one thing, which is, what is your biggest frustration when facilitating meetings? When you're a facilitator, what is your biggest frustration? And this time, we will give you 2 minutes. So just a sec, let me recreate 30 rooms or 29 rooms. And
is that one of the frustrations, TK?
Yes, well, that's definitely one of the frustrations
presenting.
when you have to do it at the same time. But again, we've got 2 minutes this time, and I'll see you in 2. Good luck. Cześć, Ula. Hej, Ula.
Wyrzuciło mnie.
O,
Tak.
jak mogło.
No.
Hey, guys.
Hi.
What's your biggest frustration?
When facilitating meetings,
Yes.
people, especially now, I think it's easy to get to the point where people don't listen to each other. That's one point.
Yeah, that's quite a frustration. Even, what about you?
For me, I could say handling loud voices in the room that are the ones that have also the functional power, or the hierarchy power.
Oh, that's a lovely one, yeah.
Yeah.
And you know what? In fact, it's something that, you can never be prepared for. So for me, the frustration is I can never be prepared enough. Like today, there's a lot of participants, and it's hard to manage everything, but it's still quite lovely. So thanks for that, guys. Lovely talking to you, and I'm getting everyone back. So
Okay.
they'll be back in 14 seconds.
Okay. Cool.
Zoom is actually doing its best, but people are dropping in, so that's cool.
Yeah. 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 We have.
And people are joining back. Hello, hello. Quite promptly, thank you. So now everyone's back, and I would like to ask you, as previously Matt has asked, can you please share in the chat what were your frustrations and what did you learn? Hippo, yeah. Oh, engagement is quite a big one. Same with ego, silence on the meetings. I've definitely experienced that. Broadband issues, yeah, especially when it's an online meeting, it's quite something. Parents versus contractors and groups, yeah. People moving on. Rabbit hole discussions, that's an interesting one, and it's definitely something I'm dealing with. Yeah, clarity and focus and lack of purpose, none of the agenda, dominant person, the same with the hippo, noise and people talking over each other. Well, thankfully, we're not talking over each other now. Thank you for all these wonderful shares. And that's true. We're all sharing a similar set of frustrations. And facilitating meetings for years, we found that there's, as we can see in the chat, a couple of ones that are very common, and we wanted to talk about them. So, Noel, over to you.
Yeah, thanks, TK. Yeah, good. Luckily, there are some stuff in there. There is some stuff in there that lines up with the next bit. Phew. Okay, so what I'm going to just talk for less than 5 minutes, but I am going to talk for probably about 3 minutes, because this is the bit now where we start to shift to those characteristics that I mentioned earlier. So what are the things that we are trying to practice because we are finding them helpful, and that we think you might also enjoy exploring them. So we don't know if these are like the top 3 things that you need to be a humble facilitator or to demonstrate more humility, but these are 3 characteristics that are currently helping us, and so there's an offer there to share those and to explore those with you for the rest of this session. So the first one is, it's about letting go. So you're in that context as a facilitator. It's not a training, it's not a talk, it's a facilitation role. Are you interested in the result of that session? Yes, of course you are. Are you in control of that result? No, you're not. And that can be really hard to get your head around. It's certainly something I've struggled with, which is why it's down as one of the things that I'm practicing right now. Your role is to provide a structure for sure, but just enough to allow the group to go in whatever direction is right for them. So you are there to hold the space for the group. And so the tighter that you hold on to the structure, the agenda, the format, the timings, the harder you are going to find it as a facilitator, and potentially the less, or there might be less benefit that the group will get from the session. So this is about letting go. It's their session. It's all about the group, and it's about you being there for them. Okay, TK, can you switch on to the next slide? Yeah, great, thank you. Here we go. Balancing voices, or eggs. So what I want to, a common term that you might have heard of is seeking equal voice. I'm actually going to challenge that. So I think the key is balance rather than equality. Your role, our role as facilitators, is to try to create a relaxed, friendly space that encourages participation in different ways. So This is something that we're trying to demonstrate here. So we are asking people to provide feedback in a written format, because some people prefer writing stuff down than saying it verbally. Later on, there will be an opportunity for people, if they do feel more comfortable talking and sharing things out loud. Maybe even some people have seen a few friends on the call, like Haroon, who prefer drawing to talking or writing. So it's about providing, again, that loose structure that gives enough space for participation for a range of people in different ways. And then the final of the three is to be curious. I'm going to give you an example here. So this is an example of when I fell flat on my face because I made a judgment call rather than making an observation and being curious about a situation. I made an assumption and a judgment, and I quickly did an intervention as a facilitator that completely blew up in my face. So there was a group conversation happening. There was one person clearly dominating this discussion, and I made a judgment that that wasn't helping the group. And so I stepped in, tapped the person on the shoulder and just said, oh, can I just ask you a question separately to the group? And as a result of that, I pissed the person off, excuse my language. He had the right hump with me about it, both during and afterwards. And the group actually struggled with them not being in the group because there wasn't someone else there who was a natural kind of leader to take them through that activity. What would probably have been more helpful would have been that observation and surfacing that observation and asking a question around it. So simply, perhaps by saying, I noticed that this person is saying a lot and is kind of holding the attention of everyone at the moment. Does anyone else have anything different that they'd like to contribute? Or I noticed that this person has been talking for a couple of minutes now. Would anyone else like to add something? That way, it's a much more gentle way of, yeah, you're making an observation. I notice this thing has happened. I notice this person is dominating the conversation and talking a lot. Is that okay? Do you want to do something different? So I'm going to stop talking there because this is not about me. It's about you. And we're going to move on to the next activity.
So we're going to let go now. We're going to be curious not only about Noel's haircut, but also about what you guys find challenging. So which of these three things which presents the biggest challenge to you? Is it letting go? Is it balancing voices? Is it being curious? So what we're going to do now is we're going to go into breakout rooms again for 3 minutes. And I think everyone can just see Noel at the moment, TK, just so you know.
Yes.
So yeah, we will basically come back in 3 minutes and just see what the groups have come up with.
I'll give it a bit of a spin because we've been receiving some feedback and it's important for us to inspect and adapt. So instead of pairs, we'll give you triads. And instead of 3 minutes, we'll give you 4. So I'll see you guys in 4 minutes. Cheers.
Tomasz, 4 minutes were too small.
Well, you had a lot to share, I guess. Yeah, it's always hard to find the right time slot.
Yeah, Noel took up all the time talking. I'm only
Well, that's
joking.
the frustration, isn't it?
I'm only joking.
Yeah, very good idea to switch from 2 to 3 because we changed the group actually.
There you go. There you go. So everyone's back, Matt.
Okay, so once again, would you mind putting some things that you found in that into the chat window, and we can. This is quite hard actually because there's so many in this group to keep.
I know.
Balancing is a difficult one, and the voices. Letting go and being curious. Yeah, indeed. I'm sorry, I'm admitting people at the same time, so sorry about this. Introverts, I always find that. I always find as a facilitator, I try and fill blank space. So when people are quiet, nice, yeah. And letting go, yeah, that's one for me as well, especially when it's something I haven't done before. Bouncing the hippo, yeah. And expectations towards the outcome of the session. Brilliant. Yes, that's great because it's not, if we can go into a session and tell ourselves almost immediately, this is their session, not mine, we can kind of relax on that. Okay, well, brilliant. Thank you for all your comments. I'm going to hand over to someone else now we're going to do a little more than chat this time.
Yes, we will. Yes, we will. And actually, we're going to do a bit less than just chat, I think, because the next exercise is a silent one. So I'm pasting a link, but I'll paste it in a moment to the chat, and I'll ask you to go to this link. It's a Google slide. And the way we'll work is I'll give you guys 5 minutes to work individually in silence. The way it will work is I'll ask you to look at the slides. They represent, each slide represents one of the challenges, one of the frustrations we've been talking about. And each of the slides has a couple of swim lanes. What I would love you guys to do is look at them and maybe try putting some post-its. You have some post-its running, lying around. You can just copy and paste them and put some answers into these swim lanes. The prompts should guide you as to what's the actual question. I'd like to invite you to work in silence for 5 minutes and have fun. One of the swim lanes actually has an image to be pasted. Make sure that your image is small to leave the space for others to actually put their stuff in. Anything to add, Noel?
Okay, is everyone interacting with all slides? Or does it depend
Yes,
on which
everyone
room?
interacts with all slides. You know, it's best to not to overthink stuff and try to put something in all of the swim lanes. 30 seconds for each of the swim lanes, and let's maybe start now. So I'll give you guys 5 minutes, and I'll see you in 5 minutes. And we've got 4 minutes left. It's half time, 2.5 minutes left.
Thomas, after the event, are you going to share the 3 slides?
Yes, yes,
Good.
Grado, we'll talk and I'll figure out the best way to share it.
Okay, you can send me and I can share the link. Okay, no problem. Thank you.
And we have 1 minute left.
If TK, if there's an opportunity to share afterwards, there's a couple that I'd like to highlight that tickled me.
Yeah, there's definitely an opportunity to share this, and we're ending in 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. And I'd like to welcome everyone into the room, and we'll definitely share.
Okay, so I guess it's on me now. So what we'd like to do now is reflect on some of the ideas that we're seeing in the board. TK, can you just help me out with what your intention on the first slide is? Are you going to cover that one?
Yes, I'm covering the first slide. You're covering the second slide, Matt,
Sure.
and Noel's covering the third one. If I can find you guys.
Yeah. So we're going to have a little review on what we've just seen and what's caught your eye. So TK, what's caught your eye?
Well, a lot. I like the picture of Nelson Mandela. Oh, I'm a visual guy, and I think it's important to.
Sorry
Yes.
to interrupt you. Can you share the slides in Zoom on the screen?
Oh, yes, we can. Yes, we can.
So in the recording, we will see the slides. Thank you.
Of course. So let me just quickly put it in here. Let's see how it works. So that's the first slide. So yeah, there's some copy and paste, but be curious about the outcome. Being curious definitely works. The second slide.
Yeah. Can you just go back to the previous one? There was one on there.
Yeah. Which one?
The 2 things tickled me. One was the name of who added it. It was the anonymous blobfish. And the second thing was it was the pause, count to 10 to observe a little longer. And when they were typing it, they added in there mentally count to 10. And I had this vision of a facilitator just standing there going 1, 2.
Quite a vision. And yeah, looking at the first slide, it's like, what would you imagine it represents the right balance? And these 2 pictures struck me, and Nelson Mandela representing the right balance there. So I'm going to break us out now into 3 groups. We're going to have 4 minutes, and each of the group will have a facilitator. So I will facilitate. So if you're in breakout room 1, you're working with me on slide 1. If you're in breakout room 2, you will work with Matt on slide 2. And in breakout room 3, you will work with Noel on slide 3. So see you in the breakout rooms.
Ah, now I can control my computer. What about you? It seemed like everything was locked, so now it's not. But now you're gone.
That was really quick.
Very short, yes.
Yeah.
I wonder actually, TK, whether just while we're here, let's play around with this. There should be the reaction buttons that people should have. I just wonder if we could just do a quick view, because in our room we ran out of time and we didn't get to where we perhaps would like to have got to. I wonder if people just use the thumbs up if they would like more time for this activity. Can you see, TK? You might be on mute. I can't hear you.
Yeah, and you're not sharing the PowerPoint slide at the moment either.
I'm not. Oh, it's interesting. I should be sharing the slide right now. So it seems that people want more time. So I guess I'll give it another, what, 4 minutes? 5 minutes?
Okay.
5 minutes.
Well, let's have another 5 minutes. Thankfully, Zoom is gracious enough to have the break. If I can only find the button. I have 3 screens where I'm at, and it's actually quite hard to manage all of you. So yeah, since Zoom has the ability to keep the breakout rooms, I'll return us for another 5 minutes into the breakout rooms. So see you back. Welcome back, everyone, after a deeper share. Yeah.
Is everyone back? I think so.
I think people are, yes.
The question I'd like to ask is, could someone from the first slide, the letting go slide, could they share something, whether that happened in their room? I would just nominate, you choose if you think comfortable just sharing some of the things that were talked about in relation to letting go.
We talked a lot actually about the image of Nelson Mandela, because we quite like that and what that could mean, and the different aspects of it. So whoever put that, we really liked it. And also sort of like about focusing on the flow and not actually the content. We like that one as well. They were the two we talked about the most.
Nice, okay.
Stop and listen to your pulse.
Yeah.
Some of us would definitely use the advice, not naming names.
Okay, so anything from room 2 then? I was in that room. Anyone want to share anything to the group that we came back with from that? Anything interesting you'd like to share? Okay, well, some of the things I heard where we talked about not being afraid to be rude to the person who's being rude. And we talked about lots of props from, I think I mentioned the stop speaking lemon right through to cards, collaboration cards, and we also talked about how we could use this virtually as well. So yeah, lots of great discussions there. So what about room 3? Anyone want to share anything from room 3?
Yeah, for sure. So I hope you can hear me now. If not, please do say. But so Ben, if I'm pronouncing your name wrong, I'm so sorry. Brought up the good point that if you look at the questions asked or written down, there seems to be something that correlates between where the question is aimed at. And I suppose you could bring into that the things that a lot of coaches might use is wait, asking why am I talking? And as a facilitator, is the question aimed at the facilitating? Or is it possibly asked at the group itself? It may be worth looking at the difference between some of the wording of, is it a question to you? But then maybe whoever's speaking, or it's a question to we as a group. It's something that was noticed, I found quite interesting. And Haroon was mentioning that in the middle, he put this post-it note, which he did go on to explain a bit about it, but we lost him because he only had 15 seconds. It was interesting, nevertheless.
Brilliant. Thank you. Thank you. Some great shares there.
There was one thing that I noticed that I didn't get. We were actually kicked out just as I started talking about it, which is on the right hand side, the things that you can do. And I thought that there was a list of practical things that you can do outwardly, and then there's some things that you can do internally. So the kind of the internal count to 10, or the practical, you can ask people for their 1 to 10 feedback.
Nice. That's great. 1 to 10 feedback. Okay. So I think that's, oh, we've got some late admissions going on now.
Yes, yes. People are joining all the time. It's like they know that there's something interesting here, and hopefully they'll catch the glimpse of the rest.
So TK,
So
is it time for the choose your own adventure?
I think it is. I think it is. Noel, on to you.
There we go. It's totally ready for that. Totally ready for that. Yeah, I realized that I hadn't set the poll up because I wasn't the host. And anyway, so in order for you guys to tell us, because we don't know what's best for this group, we are going to go with the majority on this one, and ask you how you want to wrap this session up. So I'm going to hopefully post a link into the chat for a separate tool. And TK, I'd like to share my screen, and then what we should be able to do is actually view the results live. Here we go. Hold on, can I share my screen? Nope. There we go.
That's it. There we go. Yep.
Oh, wow. Oh, 1 vote. So as everyone votes on this, if you, oh, hang on. Oh, there we go. There's the live stuff coming in the background. 41%. What you can see in the top right here as well is the number of people that have voted. So
yeah,
when that gets
tight.
When that gets above 40, we'll so you better get in there quick.
You don't want someone else to choose your prime minister?
27 people have voted so far. I know which one a few people have voted for because they revealed it in the chat, which is fine. So this is another way of generating feedback, but actually anonymously. So maybe we're getting everyone involved, but you don't have to kind of reveal your particular opinion here. All right, that seems to have slowed down, and there does seem to be a clear winner. So I'll just give it another 10 seconds just in case. Okay, that's something I struggle with. Is just leaving that pause open. So that was a good bit of practice for me. The next thing then is the word cloud. So let me first of all activate this, then let me share the link in the chat. 1 second. Where are we? More chat. There we go. Okay. So you should now, or when you go to that link, get a slightly different invitation. And the way that should be displayed is as a word cloud. Let's see what happens.
Where's the link?
You press present mode now.
What do I need to? Oh, present mode. Oh, there
Yes,
you go.
yes.
Thank you, Matt.
A lot better.
There we go. We're looking at a complete blank screen now. That's so much better.
It's loading up.
There we go. Okay, thanks, Matt.
Mandela definitely made an impression.
Yeah. And he's in there more than once. Someone wrote Nelson Mandela and a couple of other people wrote Mandela. So with the word cloud, you're probably aware of how that works, but it will resize the text and center it more towards the middle based on the number of people who use the same word. So with a nice big group like this, it can reveal stuff. And whatever it reveals is the right thing. Okay, and we will share this as well. So once this session's finished, Corrado will take a snapshot of the results of this and send that to you as well, so you can circulate that with whatever other content that you'd like to.
The deck of the 3 slides, please.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing now, and I think to wrap up, is it back to you, TK? It's
about our inspirations, Noel.
And is this me? Yes.
Focus on the flow.
Yeah, so apologies. Just got all excited there with Slido. Yeah, this is just a small slide just because it wouldn't be fair for us to take the credit for a lot of the content in this session and a lot of the inspiration that we've got in our style of leadership and our style of facilitation. And yeah, that comes from a range of different sources and different people. So it was important for us to acknowledge that in here as well.
No, I'll just add something. We've got training from the back of the room mentioned here. Sharon Bowman has got something called the 4 C's, which is how you structure training. I find that if you're thinking of facilitating, you can easily adapt that model to help people make sure they go through the right phases of facilitation. So if you're not familiar with that work and you're thinking it's just about training, have a look at the 4 C's model for Sharon Bowman, and you'll see that the actual content can be replaced with the thing you're facilitating quite nicely.
Yes, it can. And we're using this model a lot. And, you know, as a bit of a, let's call it, shameless, humble plug, you've just seen us in action. This is how we work. We're the humble associates, as Corrado mentioned. Arif couldn't be with us today, but that's our style of work. And what we do is we help organizations change. So, you know, if you need help and like the way we work, like the being a humble guide, it's easy to find us. We have a name that's easy to remember. We focus on coaching, we focus on learning organizations, but we also do a bit of discovery and team enablement. So, you know, whatever help is needed, we're always there. And, you know, with that, we just want to thank you for your attention, for being here and participating with us in this wonderful meetup, sharing your thoughts and co-creating it with us. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. That was really
Thank
good.
you.
Thank you.
Humble associates.
Really good. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Where will we have the recordings, please?
Thank you, guys. Okay, about recording, let me share the thoughts because we are recording these events, you know, the previous one. Actually, we have not taken any formal decision about how to publish them, but we will do sooner or later. Okay, so stay tuned, keep connected with the community, and you will receive the information. It will not be soon, however, because we have so many events actually these days that it's a nonsense to share the event, in my opinion.
What about the slides?
As soon as I will receive, I will share the link on the meetup page. So,
and as you can see, Corrado is very persistent in reminding us to share the slides. So you can count on it.
Knows me very well, and so thank you everybody for joining. But if we have some more questions for the humble associates, I mean, be open. I think that they can provide some response. Correct, Noel, Matt?
Yeah, of course.
Don't shy away from it.
Okay, I want to say a comment just to break the ice. I really like the effort to make this session as much as interactive as possible. I mean, actually, we have not a deck because we have so few slides that we could avoid also that. And instead, we continue to enter in the rooms, discussing, sharing our thoughts on the board, and also at the end, the wrap up. We did the workshop. I think this is a perfect way to manage this kind of interactive events, because as they proposed, their contribution to the content is just to guide us during the conversation, during the interaction, and so on. So actually, we did the workshop. So this is something that I really like. Thank you for sharing this approach.
I agree. I think it works really well interactively remotely as well. Sort of like it's one of the best ones I've seen. So well done.
Okay.
Yeah, except that the TK talks too much. Okay, we have to say.
This is not new news, right?
I'm so comfortable with the silence listening to my pulse. Come on, guys.
No, just joking. We have this conversation in our room, but just to make everybody aware of that.
I just noticed that someone has their hand raised. Ishfaq?
Yeah, Ishfaq, please.
Yeah, hi, crowd. Thank you so much. This is the first time I've joined this meetup. I'm in Edinburgh, but in a couple
You
of
have to talk louder, Ishfaq. It's hard to.
Sorry, can you not hear me too well?
Yeah, try
That's
now.
better.
Okay, I'll get a bit closer. In a couple of breakout rooms that I was in, the team that we spoke with said that they struggle to sort of sometimes in a meeting environment, not one-to-one in a meeting environment, to bring introverts into the conversation and get them to interact. Do the Humble Associates have any advice on how to get introverts to engage with what's on the board or in the meeting, especially when you're in a meeting, you almost have to speak on your own and the rest of the room is looking at you? Any advice from the Humble Associates?
So I'll start with something, if that's okay. You may already know a lot about this already, but if you don't, liberating structures often has, there's certainly some ways in which to help people who may not feel comfortable speaking out in the group have some self-reflection. So for example, there's something called 1, 2, 4 all. And the one part is really interesting because if you don't feel like talking in front of lots of people, you can just get your notes together, and then maybe in a pair you might share something, and then as that pair grows into bigger, that person doesn't necessarily have to keep speaking in a larger audience. So I found that a really safe way to allow somebody to, so in a pair I'm quite happy to sort of share something with you, but like later on I'm like, oh no thanks, or I might not feel safe, so they might be paired up with someone who they feel safe to actually share some stuff with, so that later on, if the group gets bigger, that's still heard and reflected out. So that's something I've found useful. What about you, Noel?
Yeah, I'm happy to add something, and someone's added something into the chat, which is super helpful as well. So again, the answers we give are just some things that might be useful, not everything, of course. I think if you're talking about in-person, face-to-face sessions, hopefully we've demonstrated a few things today when you're doing it online that gives everyone the opportunity to interact, whether they're actually speaking or not. But when you're in the room, I find physical props, even simple things like Post-its and Sharpies can help, because people don't necessarily have to talk about it. They can make a note, or if you're doing dot voting with stickies, or again with Sharpies, people can still express themselves by physically writing something down or interacting with an object without necessarily having to be front and center and talking. So for me, I like props that enable people to do stuff where they don't necessarily have to talk.
And if I can just add to that. Oh, sorry. Yeah, another way to get people to come out is to pair people up just like you did here. It could be just a check-in to start with, to break the ice. And it could be, can you just discuss this in pairs? I try to do that as well.
Great.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, everybody.
Is that useful, Ishfaq? Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. You know, some of them liberating structures, Sharpies, Post-its. I've used that. The pairing thing, check-in, etc. I like that. I'm not working just now, but I was let go as soon as the lockdown started. I'll keep that in mind. I like those. Fantastic. Thank you.
Great.
Brother, you may be on mute if you're trying to say something.
No, I'm saying I'm.
Yes, I am. Yes, I am. Sorry, I was saying that was a good question. Thank you for asking. Okay, I think that the time is over. So thank you for joining. I hope to see you in our next events. Thank you, the Humble Associates, for sharing this interesting workshop. I really appreciate them, and I think so you can do. And may the agility be with you.
Cheers.
Thank you for having us, Corrado. Really
Yeah, thank you, as always.
Thank you.
Great pleasure.
I know. Thank you.
Bye, guys. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
See ya.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.